Hi guys, and welcome back to another video game with the powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I'm bringing you another episode in our Learn and Play series where I'll be featuring the board game Punica, Rome versus Carthage. Now, Punica, Rome versus Carthage is a board game for 2 players, ages 14 plus, right around 20 minutes per playthrough, and this one is coming to you from the team over at PHALANX Limited. Now, this game is also designed by Mariusz Rosik. I do apologize if I mispronounced your name incorrectly. And the artist here is going to be the Mihajlo, which you might be familiar with if you have played the Raiders of the North Sea, Paladins of the West Kingdom, the South Tigris, those type of games. You will be familiar with the artwork here. Now, Punica, Rome versus Carthage is a quick playing area control and hand management game for 2 players set in the Punic Wars, where one player is going to be controlling the faction of Rome, the other player is going to be controlling the faction of Carthage, and you guys are going to battle it out to see who is the victor. If this is your first time watching a Learn and Play video from us, guys, what I do is break the game down into 2 distinct parts. The very first part of the video, I give you an in-depth overview of the game, going in detail of the setup, the winning conditions, how the game is actually going to play, what it's going to be like on a turn, hence that learn tagline. And the second part of the video, I will demonstrate or play a couple rounds or turns of that game so you can see the flow of what it would be like if this game was actually on your table, hence our learn and play tagline. All right, guys, enough chitter chatter for me. Let's go ahead and jump down to the table where we can learn and play Punica, Rome versus Carthage together. All right, guys, so we're down here at the table where we got everything set up for a playthrough of Punica, Rome versus Carthage. As I mentioned earlier, guys, this is going to be an area control hand management style game where one player is going to be taking on the faction of Rome, the other player is going to be taking on the faction of Carthage, and you guys are going to be taking turns back and forth to basically defeat your opponent. And there's a couple different ways you are going to do this. So when you are setting the game up, it'll be set up just like this. What I really enjoy is the board actually has the different regions of how many units should be on those particular regions. So you'll take all your units, all your ships of your given faction, you will play them out on the board, and then each character will also, or each player will also get a hand of 7 cards. You will take this as well, and then if you want like a little card aid to see what the values of the cards are in your hand, you can take one as well. They have one for the Carthage side and one for the Rome side. And they also have a nice little handy dandy player aid here. Oops. They also have a nice little handy dandy player aid for you to see kind of all the different card effects, the actions, and what you're trying to do in detail. So I really enjoy the ease of play and understanding of this one. So what is your overall purpose of the game? So there are actually 3 ways that you can win the game. The very first way is to control your opponent's capital. So you are going to have a capital on the board, which for the Romans are going to be the red colored in region. For the Carthage is going to be this blue colored region. So if at the end of your turn, there are no units in here and your opponent has 1 unit in your capital, they control your capital and they would be considered the victor. So that is the first way that a player can win the game. The second way a player is going to be able to win the game is if they control 3 areas of influence of the opposing player. So there are different areas of influence of each faction around the board. So if the Romans manage to control 3 areas, different areas that have that Carthage symbol on them, they will be victorious, and vice versa. If the Carthage manages to control any of the areas or regions with a Roman symbol on them, they would be victorious as well. So that's the second way to win the game. The third and final way to win the game is all opposing armies are removed from the board. So you manage to remove all of your opponent's pieces off the board, you are considered the victor. Now, there is a scenario that neither player will have an army on the board. If that situation does occur, the game will end in a draw. So those are your 3 ways that you are going to be victorious in this game. They are also down here at the bottom of your side on the board. So the Carthage side and the Roman side, these will give you the 3 different ways you are victorious as well. So now that you know kind of what the overall objective of the game is, let's talk about how the game is actually going to play and what you are going to be able to do on your turn. So when it is your turn, you must take one of 4 different actions, okay? The 4 different actions, the very first one is going to be your movement action. So this movement action, you are allowed to move any of your army units or any of your fleet units right here. So you have 3 fleet, and then you have 6, 7, 8 army units. So when you choose to move a unit, you can move an army from either one region to an adjacent region. This is very simple. One region to an adjacent region like this, or adjacent region, or if we have an adjacent region over here. These regions are going to be divided by these yellow borders. So you can see on the landmass, we have these yellow borders here to divide the different regions. And then you're going to have a C region, which are going to be divided by the different yellow dots. So when you decide to take that movement action, again, you can either move an army or you can move a fleet. I forgot to mention that. If you decide to move that army, the first thing you can do is either move them from an adjacent region, one adjacent region to the other, or from one region to another via a chain of adjacent Cs, each containing a friendly fleet, okay? So that scenario would manage to look something like this. So in this particular instance, every faction is going to have a printed fleet that is right next to their capital. So even though I don't have any fleet tokens here, I can still move my guys through here because I have a printed fleet on here, which is considered just like I have a token there. So I can move an army from 1 to 2 to get to that adjacent region because I have a connected chain of fleets through how I wanted to do. Let's say in this scenario B, right, I had something like this, right? I can move a unit from here to this spot, this spot, this spot, and then land in that spot if I wanted to, because I have a connected chain of fleets that is going from one region to the next. So when it comes to your army, guys, you can either move them from one adjacent region to the other, or if you have a chain of connected fleets, you can move them across those connected fleets to get where you need to go. So to go there. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So technically, like, there is no restricted movement value. Either you're moving a unit from one adjacent region, or you can move them, you know, 3 spaces or 4 spaces across the board if you have the correct fleet setup. All right. When it comes to the fleets, a fleet can move to any sea space that they would like. There is no restriction. They don't have to move to an adjacent fleet sea space. So this guy can move from here to there, right? They are not restricted by that adjacency rule. However, if you decide to move into any space that has an opponent's unit, you will be forced to battle with that opposing faction, which I will cover the battle at the tail end of this how to play. So that is the very first action, our movement action. You're either moving a unit or your army or a fleet that you have on the board. Okay. The next thing you can do is play a card from your hand. So all of your cards are going to have a effect down here at the bottom of the card. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, you are going to have this nice handy dandy player aid here that will give you all of the information of what exactly that card does. So if you would like to play a card from your hand, you can do this in one of 2 ways. You can either play the card for the action itself, or during a battle, you can play that card as one of the strength values that are on those numbers. But we're going to take a look as just using the card as an action. So you would take that card, you would place it next to somewhere on the board, you would reveal that card, you would resolve as much of the bottom of that card as possible, and then you're going to place it face up next to the board somewhere on your side. All right, these face-up cards can be reviewed by all players, and then once you have played your final card, let's say I played all these cards, it's the last card of my hand. Once I play this final card, I will then take all of the other cards that I have played back into my hand, except for the card I just played, and then I would start a new discard pile, allowing me to play these cards over again. So that is the second action right there, the card effect in playing those cards. The third action available to you is called fleet deployment, okay? So during battle, your units will be removed from the board. There is a possibility that you will engage in fleet battle as well, and your fleets can be destroyed, okay? The only fleet that cannot be destroyed is the printed on fleet that is right next to your capital. If you happen to have one of your fleet or all of your fleets destroyed and you would like to bring it back, what you can do is remove one of your armies from the board, essentially from the game, in order to restore one of your fleets, bringing them back to life. All right, so that is your fleet deployment action. And the very last action that you have available to you is the pass action. And this one is simple. You will just place one of these cards in your hand face up in that little discard pile that you have created, and then you are basically passing your turn, going to the next player. So those are the 4 actions that you have available to you to take on your turn. You will choose one of these actions, resolve that effect fully, or resolve that action fully, and then it will be the next player's turn. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you guys will go back and forth. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about battling. So let's say we have a super easy battle scenario. Let's say we're battling over here to the right-hand side in this location right here, and we have 1-1. So battling can occur in a couple ways. More than likely, when a battle is gonna occur is when you move one of your units into that particular area. So what you guys are gonna do is you are going to count up the total strength of your army here. So a army and fleet are considered a strength of 1, and then the Carthage is going to have a white unit here which has a strength of 2. Again, at this time, you can also play a card from your hand for its strength value. If you would like to do this, you will both play these cards face down, and then you will flip that card over, add it to your total strength. So both players, once you are ready, you are adding up your total strength, and the player with the higher strength is going to be the winner. The loser must remove either one of their armies or fleets from the board. That unit has been defeated. Let's say this Rome was victorious here, and then the loser must retreat any remaining units that they have left, if there were any. So in this scenario, they would have to retreat all of their units back essentially from where they came from, right? If both players have the same amount of strength in this scenario, both players would remove their units from the board, and the attacker must retreat all remaining units that are left over, okay? So that is essentially how battle is going to work. Now, there are some different retreats. There are some extra retreat rules that are in this game, depending on if you're the attacker or defender. I'm not going to go over that, but it's not too difficult. But that is just kind of the basic premise of what the battling is going to look like. You're going to move in an area, you're going to count your strength up, you can play one card face down, flip that card over, add that strength value to that unit. Whoever is the winner, the loser must remove. If both of you are the same, you both remove, and then you have to retreat, whether you are the attacker or the defender. There is one last thing I'm going to cover, guys, before we dive into this little playthrough teaser here, and that is a special battle effect. So there is the potential for some cards in your hand to have this little symbol right here. Okay, and here's another symbol just like this pertaining to each individual faction. If you manage to play a card with that symbol during that battle phase, this card will actually activate first before calculating strength, okay? And the attacker will resolve their card first, and then the defender will resolve their card. But this is a special battle effect that will occur if you manage to play one of these cards. Then that will resolve, then you will add the strength, and then you would go through the battle phase. Okay, guys, but look, that is pretty much everything that you need to know in order to play Punica Rome versus Carthage here. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and just play a couple turns in rounds and show you guys what maybe a particular playthrough would look like if you had this on your table. Okay, obviously I am playing against myself here, so there might be some things where I just randomly shuffle up this deck of cards and play them back and forth, obviously because I'm going to know what each other is playing. But let me give this a shuffle real quick. Always leads to randomness, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, Rome is always going to be the starting faction, so let me see what I want to do first. I think if I look at my hand here, I might have a couple different options. Movement is obviously the best, so I think what I might do, I will do a movement action, and I will move one of my fleets. I'm gonna move this one here. Ooh, actually, I might move that one there. Okay, so that would be my movement action. I have moved my fleet over there. Oh, actually, no. I might actually move my fleet here. And, well, they could move in there. So I got to think about this strategy. I might move my fleet here in this spot, because then I could cross over that way. So that will be my movement action. So move an army or a fleet. I have done that. I will now pass to this player over here. This player wants to control and contest this area as well. So I think what they're going to do is move one of their fleets into this area. Okay, and technically this area encompasses this bottom area too. So they would move their fleet in that area, and that would be their turn. Now we are coming back over to me. So I could move one of my units into here, and let's go ahead and do that. So I will move from here. I will have a chain of this C area to be able to move my unit there, and that is the end of my turn. So now we would go back over to the blue player, and he's going to do the same thing. All right, he is going to move one of his units to this spot in the sea. So we do have a ship, and we also have our printed ship. And then he is going to move into this sea area next, because this area does cover this. And then he will finally move into this area. So movement has stopped because we have encountered a battle. So at the end of any action, if we have opposing armies or fleets in the same area, the player who starts the battle is the attacker and the other player is the defender. So Carthage is going to be the attacker in this scenario, and the Romans are going to be the defender. So plus both players must choose a card from their hand and place it face down in front of them. All right, let's do a random right here. So that is going to be a Rome's random card, and let's see what Carthage's random card is going to be. Here we go. Okay, both players have placed their cards face down in front of them, and then we will flip these cards to reveal them simultaneously. All right, we have a 6 and we have a 3, okay? Do we have any special battle symbols? We do not in this particular scenario. So the Romans are going to have a strength of 7. The Carthage are going to have a strength of 4. Alrighty, so Romans are the winner. Carthage must remove this unit from the board, and we'll put them over there. And then the Romans are going to be able to stay there because they do not need to retreat any of their units as they are the victor. Okay, so that was the end of the Carthage player's turn because we moved in there and initiated that combat. So now we move over to the Romans, and the Romans are actually 1/3 of the way to winning the game because they have controlled this area right here. This area is both a Roman and a Carthage area, so we are in control of that area. So now we are going to us. It might be time to take a look at some of our different cards. So this would allow us to withdraw your units according to the retreat rules. What does a 4 have for us? This would basically move. and I believe it does have to be a unit. What does 2 say? Place an army on a Roman fleet in adjacent sea. That fleet may take a movement action. You cannot move into the sea with an enemy. Armies can perform up to 2 movement actions. If you perform this action during a battle, you cannot start any new battles and you cannot move via any sea. Armies can move up to 4 movement actions. Hoo-wee! That's what we just used. So maybe we use a 4. Let's use a 3. So let's play this card. We will play this card face up in front of us, essentially, and our armies can take 2 movement actions. And I think what we might do is it has to be an army. So let's go move this guy here, and why don't we just move both these guys in that location. So I have fully resolved my card there. So that is the effect that I have. That is the end of my turn. And now we're going to go over to the blue player. And let's see the cards that the blue player has available to them. Wow, we have a bunch of different options here. Wow, that is 3 movement on a 1. That is crazy. Armies except Hannibal can perform up to 3 movements. Let's play this card. So armies up to, except for Hannibal, can move up to 3. So what we might do is actually try and re-engage battle. So we could go 1-1, boom, that's 1 army. We could send another army in there for 2. And we can move 1 more. And we could actually move a 3rd army in there if we wanted to, or let's move this guy over here because I have a funny feeling the Romans might be trying to come that way. Okay, so again, we have initiated another battle. So I did incorrectly talk about the battle rules in the how to play section. To resolve a battle, guys, players must choose 1 card. You do not have an option. You must choose 1 card from your hand every time you are in a battle. And let's see what the 2 available cards here. All right, so the Romans have a 4 and the Carthage has a 2. So 4 and 5. We have 4 here. So the Romans are victorious yet again. Wow. The Carthage are not doing so well. So the Romans are the winners, okay? So the loser must remove 1 of their armies from the board. All right, so 1 army is removed from the board, and then the remaining armies must retreat. So when you retreat from battle, you must abide by these restrictions here, which are you cannot retreat to an area from which you have been attacked, you cannot retreat to your opponent's capital, and you cannot move to an area where a battle is taking place. As an attacker, you must retreat all armies to 1 area that you have attacked from, and if this is not possible, remove all retreating armies from the game. So I believe I moved them from our capital, so we can go back and retreat. So that was the end of the Carthage players' turn. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right here, guys. Hopefully you kind of see how the game is going to play out. You guys are going to go back taking these different turns, moving your armies around, battling, using some card play. They got some really, really cool cards that are available to you. So this one lets you play another card. This you can use your movement on ships, right? This will allow you to withdraw. Okay, this guy, what is number 5? Move up to 2 armies. If you have an army in an area where you must move the army to the next area, right? And Carthage had some really, really unique cards on his own, being able to move a fleet and then double move an army, move a fleet, move an army, or your special guy. What is a 4 here? 4 allows us to place 1 card from your hand face up next to the board and add 1 strength to the card. So that's really, really unique as well. Alrighty guys, well look, I hope you enjoyed this learn and play of Punica Rome versus Carthage, and I have really enjoyed my time with this one. Man, this is a fast playing game, and that's what I love so much about it is like, there is hardly any downtime here. You guys are getting straight into the action, straight into the battles right away, and it really just moves the game along, helps kind of things, helps the flow of the game. I love all the unique card play, how each faction feels really powerful in itself when you play them, but this is a great area control hand management two-player game that I really enjoy. If you guys enjoyed this learn and play, go ahead and smash that like button, hit that notification bell, drop down in the comments below. Have you guys seen Punica Rome versus Carthage? If you're interested in this one, I will drop the Game Found campaign down below. And last but not least, guys, if you're not subscribed to our channel, please go and subscribe so we can keep bringing you some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.